Hey guys, I think we're live. Did you see that? That was strange. It counts down 3, 2, 1, and then it's usually go, but it was like stuck on 1. And then it said you're live, but it was frozen. So let's hope that we're live. Let's hope that we're not just talking to ourselves. And we'll get this going. Today we wanted to come in and talk to you about what it's like in prison during Christmas. Now, we've had a couple of these videos, but what we were thinking was there are a couple of, for lack of a better word, perks that I use that phrase very lightly because perks in prison, like you're in prison for the holidays. It freaking sucks. Not many people are in a good mood, but there are a couple of things that are different during the holidays. And hey guys, let's start with, what are they?
Start with what are some of the perks?
Yeah.
Well, this year is a little bit different. You know,
this year's very different.
Very, very different.
But do you want to start with this year or you want to start with what you...
Let's start with this year because, you know, I'm sure everybody's interested in what's going on this year with COVID. And I know that most of the federal prison system is in some form of lockdown at this point. Fortunately, and I don't know if it came through today because we didn't get any phone calls, but they were talking about coming off of lockdown. I know that many of the prisons have been on lockdowns. So this year, obviously, it's going to be different because of COVID. My hope is that, you know, everyone's able to get out and at least make some phone calls, connect with family. Right now, in the federal system, all phone calls are free. The BOP is not charging. They actually own the phone system and they subcontract out to different service providers. So since they own the system, I mean, they can pretty much do what they want. They should have done this a long time ago.
Yeah.
So hopefully everyone's able to get out, you know, make a couple phone calls, connect with family. We were talking about this. One of the things that I'm an extreme introvert. So for me, anytime when I'm dealing with a bunch of people, it's always, you know, it's a challenge and I only have so much energy to give. And then like when I'm done, I need to go someplace and recharge.
I'm the same way.
Yeah. And the holidays, a lot of times, like that's what happens where, you know, you call and people want to pass the phone around. So, you know, it's difficult, but I'm hoping that at least this year, you know, everyone's able to make a couple of those phone calls. Maybe the phone gets passed around, but how many people are going to be together? So that's the other side of that this year. You know, like we've talked about, you know, we have family members who unfortunately aren't going to get together with anyone this year. They're going to be at home isolated. And that's, you know, it's sad. It's unfortunate. But at least if you're at home, you know, we've got Zoom. We've got different ways to connect.
Yeah.
A lot of people on the inside don't have that. So I don't know how that's going to work out.
It's hard. And for you guys that are on the outside and you don't know if you're going to hear from your loved one the holidays, whether it be because of COVID or they're in the hole or transferring, there's so many different things it could be, or they just can't get to the phone. There were a couple of times that Adam just couldn't make it to the phone on Christmas and I didn't hear from him. And no one ever should tell you that it's anything less than or more than, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it sucks, the end, period. No one should try to tell you any different, like, just get over it. He's fine. He'll be okay. No cliches necessary. It sucks. It hurts. If you need to cry it out, cry it out. And then as hard as it is, I'm not preaching to the choir. I was there for many years. You have to try with all your might to do something to honor yourself and your family that is out here during the holidays. And remember the person inside, but you don't want to put yourself in prison too, because if you can't do it for yourself, think about your loved one on the inside and he or she, if they knew that you were suffering and putting yourself in prison because they're in prison, that's going to eat away from them. There's already so much guilt for majority of people on the inside that they're leaving you alone at the holidays and you're suffering and you're missing them. So if you could do something, anything, even if it's something that you probably would have said no to, and it's very different this year because of COVID, but let's say you want to stay home because that's how you feel the most safe, that is okay. Whatever works for you, but maybe hop on a Zoom with an old friend, with family, with somebody, anything to honor yourself during this holiday, but it's also okay to honor your struggle because it's hard. And in my opinion, it never gets easy. You get more used to it and maybe it gets easier. My last holiday without Adam was so much easier than my first holiday without Adam because I was just used to him not being there. I knew I had to try to find that silver lining. So I'm kind of rambling, but my whole point is I see you, I hear you. I wish I could give you a hug. Know how much I feel your pain and I empathize with you and I know what you're going through. And sometimes you just need that. You need somebody who's been there or who's going through it with you to say, it sucks and I'm sorry. It sucks. And you're allowed to feel like it sucks and acknowledge the suck. And then in CrossFit, they always tell us now you have to embrace the suck because there's nothing else you could do. So I love you. I see you. I know that you're struggling. You're going to get through it. Now, what else do they do? There were some things on the inside that I remember you telling me about. Did I interrupt you? Did you finish that thought?
No, that was it.
Okay.
What are some of the perks?
The perks.
You want to get back to the perks?
Yeah.
What do we have for perks? Hey, Joe. Happy holidays.
Oh, thanks for the $5.
Yeah.
And thanks for the $2. Well, I remember Christmas bags.
Christmas bags. Okay, there's a couple things that happen every year. One is the Christmas bags. Those come first. Most everyone probably got those already. You generally get those a little bit earlier. And you get a bag that's of varying size. You know, it's got all sorts of candies and snacks and things like that in it. Stuff that you normally can't get at the commissary. And what everybody does is when they get these big bags, they pick out the things that they really like, and then they take everything else and try and trade it for more of what they like. And generally, you know, some guys make out better than others. Me, what I was in the habit of doing is I would get the bag, and if there was anything that I wanted in there, occasionally there was a healthy item, as you all know.
What would be a healthy item?
Like peanuts.
Okay.
Sometimes there would be some peanuts or something in there.
Okay.
I'd grab those. And there were other times, there were years when I didn't even open the bag. And for me, like it was, I felt good about being able to, one, either open the bag up and piecemeal it away. Mm-hmm. There were times where I just went around. I was like, hey, grab something out. What do you want? Grab something. So that people were just to get something. They'd be like, well, what do you want for it? I'm like, I don't want nothing. Just go ahead and take it. They're like, really? Yeah, just grab a piece. So it was something cool for me to be able to give that away. And other times I just gave the whole bag to somebody, you know, just gave it away. There are some guys choose not to participate at all.
Like make a show out of not participating?
Well, it's kind of, it's their form of protest. Like they won't accept the bag.
What would that be for? Like, what would be the reason behind some of these protests?
I've heard, you know, guys explain it different ways, but they're like, man, I'm not taking anything from those people.
But didn't they know they bought it?
That's the thing. I don't think most people understand how this works. This comes out of the inmate trust fund. Most bags, like they're either donated from an outside source or like in the federal system, we buy them. The money comes out of the inmate trust fund, which is the tax that they put on us at the prison commissary. So we're actually purchasing our own Christmas bags. And most people just don't realize how that works. Yeah. So anyways, you got the Christmas bags. Then you have Christmas Eve. And this is the way that it used to be. When I first came in,
I was going to say the same thing. And then I'm like, keep it positive.
They would run us through, like we'd go over to the dining hall, the chow hall, and we'd come through and they'd have hot cocoa and fresh made cookies. Like it was like Christmas, you know, and it was pretty cool. And And generally back then, even staff were a little bit more, they were a little bit more festive. They were more in the holiday spirit, and they tell you happy holidays and seem genuine. Whereas in later years, these last few years, I think things have changed a little bit. And it wasn't so festive, not to digress, but I do want to say this. I vividly recall last Christmas walking through the dining hall and not a single person out of, I'm going to say there was between 40 and 50 staff members there, not a single one looked at me in the eye. Not one of them said happy holidays. Not one of them smiled. And I'll go another step to say that they intentionally avoided looking at me. They saw me walk in. And to me, that was such a dramatic shift, like I said, from when I first came in and from when, I first got to that facility and things were running really, really well. And it was just a whole different culture. And man, I left there and I was just like, oh, man, like it bothered me. Like it really, really bothered me to my core.
I remember you calling, and for you to, let me shut this volume down. I remember for you to say stuff, to admit stuff like that to me. I always knew like that really bothered him because he wasn't the type of person to complain to me. He would always like shut things off so he could be positive for me when he called me or visit. And I remember when he told me that, and it wasn't just a complaint. It was like, I could hear the hurt in his voice. And I'm going to say this first. This is a disclaimer. There are some really, really good correctional officers out there. There were some, and probably still are, some really, really good ones at this facility where Adam was.
Some that tune in here.
That's right. And we are so grateful for you, for them, and there need to be more of them. But the ones that, unfortunately, it's the majority are ones that have this power. I don't know the word I'm looking for. I don't want to say
it's a mindset. It's a predominant authoritarian
and the
mindset that created a culture in there that just didn't speak to, I mean, anyone's personal health, well-being, happiness.
But the problem is that's not their job. Their job is not to punish the people inside. The sentence that was handed down to the person inside, that's the punishment. Now they're being housed to do that time and to fulfill that punishment. Being inside and being treated like crap, that it's not the staff's job to do that to them. Their job is to keep people safe and secure, not to punish them. That was my whole point.
And let me add one more thing. The reason why it bothered me so much is because there was individuals in there that I have worked with, closely with, who helped. Many of the things that led to me being released, I had to have high-level support for. I had to have staff that were backing that. These were people that I worked closely with for many years. And the holiday seasons, I mean, like I'm trying to wish everyone else a happy holidays and genuinely mean it. Like I hope that they enjoy time with their families and, that they're in good spirits, that they appreciate everything that they have. And to walk in there and have people see me and avert their gaze, so that they didn't have to look at me, didn't have to engage me because they didn't want anyone else to see that interaction. That speaks to the culture, not to the individual. That speaks to the culture. And man, that's what bothered me so much.
Yeah.
So we got off on a little bit of a tangent.
Yeah,
but
sorry.
I did that was just kind of weighing on me. So I wanted to share a little bit of that. And it just speaks to, the direction that things have gone, as much progress as we've made, with criminal justice reform. In other areas, things have not improved that much. I mean, and I know that people right now, I guess it's weighing heavily on me because we've heard from so many people. I get calls pretty regularly. A text earlier today. I know I still feel it. Like I'm not so far removed. I've been out 4 months. I can picture my cell perfectly. I know what it looks like. I know what the guys are feeling. It's all still very raw, still, the newness of being out here has not worn off. And I don't ever want to forget those things or forget the people that were left behind.
Yeah.
And to have experienced, we always talk about the difference between when I first came in 20 years ago up until now, the things that have changed, like the Christmas holiday tradition. And when we shared, best Christmas, what things were like at that time and how dramatically different they are now.
Yeah.
I don't know what the benefits are. I don't know what anyone is receiving. I don't even know if they got Christmas bags this year.
Probably. I'm going to assume no, because that's a lot of handling.
They should have.
They should absolutely
Put it this way.
have.
They're getting commissary. If they're getting commissary, they should have gotten a Christmas bag.
Do we know if they're getting commissary?
Yes.
They are.
They were allowed to go to commissary last week. But the fact that they're getting things, listen, there's no reason. People go to the grocery store. Like, figure it out. We can get these things to people. It's something small. As isolated as people are out here right now due to COVID, just think of how much more isolating that is in there, where there are so many other social barriers that are keeping people separated.
Yeah.
To now have physical barriers on top of it, to where guys just aren't even getting out of the cell. So yeah, that's weighing heavy on me right now. I hope if you have a loved one who is on the inside, that you do get an opportunity to speak to them. I hope that you send them a Christmas card, or
we're able to, because some places you can't even send a card.
Yeah, if you can't send a Christmas card, if you were able, listen, even if you just put it on a blank piece of paper, just write a note, a Merry Christmas, throw it in a white envelope, you know what I mean? So that there's no colors, there's no prints, there's nothing that anyone can complain about. And just fold up a piece of paper with 2 lines on it, put a stamp on it, throw it in the mailbox. I am telling you, you will, that's enough to make someone's day.
So we're going to get to questions and comments in 1 second. So
let's get to those, because I totally went someplace else with this.
Okay, but can I ask one question?
Sure.
Again, there are good ones and there are bad apples in every bunch. So did you find that officers that had to work, let's say on Christmas Day, like on these holidays, Thanksgiving Day, were kind of hostile toward you because they were taking out their anger for having to work that holiday on you guys?
Okay, I guess I should clarify. Going through to pick up the Christmas bags was prior to the actual holiday. So all staff were at work. It wasn't like only certain ones that had to be on. On actual Christmas Day, whoever gets stuck working, I'm going to say this, as far as I can recall, any of those days, like on a holiday, most of the people that are there are happy to be there because they're getting overtime, which is time and a half. So they've chosen to come in. They're not necessarily being forced. They're there and they're of the mindset that they're going to do as little as possible on that day. And I think to make it easy on them, and realizing that guys are kind of stressed, everybody kind of keeps their distance.
Are there perks like time and a half or something like that for working those days?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. Unless,
I mean, that's a good thing. I think that should happen.
Unless someone gets mandated, which, I mean, that happens too. But
is mandated like a punishment?
It just means you're the low person on the totem pole and nobody else would take the shift, and now you have to come in and work.
And you don't get the perks for coming to work. That's not fair.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think that I think they should be compensated for working the holidays, just like many other jobs, but they should also do their job.
Yep. So what are the questions? What are you seeing?
Oh, tell me. Your eyes are dry?
So dry.
Well, you're having staring contests with little kids, keeping your eyes open for 25 minutes at a time.
We were getting some practice this afternoon. Practicing parenting. Yeah, practicing parenting.
Someday. I remember one holiday, CEO told me I should be ashamed because I wasn't home with my family. I politely said, "Sir, I'm with my family." Good for you, Kat. Like, how dare that person? And I think a lot of times and thankfully it happened to me like maybe once. It didn't happen to me very often. I was treated thankfully, respectfully. However, I've seen and heard about correctional officers that will take jabs at the family member in order to stick it to the inmate because they know that that's going to get them more riled up than if they take a jab at them. And it's ridiculous. And I love you and your New York attitude. Like, you're messing with the wrong girl. Good for you.
I was just thinking of that. You articulated that very well, because it definitely would. You know, saying something to me doesn't matter, but whenever, you know.
Adam, I hope you see my comments, and I know I was not in any way trying to compare Chris Watts to you. Oh, I missed the comment. I just have never heard of a 35C before and figured maybe you could help explain it. I don't know what that is. It's probably a state thing. I didn't see your original comment. You didn't see the original comment, right?
I missed the original comment.
Yeah, I don't think I love you, Jersey. I don't think we would have taken what you said offensively, but we didn't see it. So if you want to ask it again,
listen, we are very thick-skinned at this point.
Yeah.
There's not too much that we take personally, and we're happy to answer whatever questions we can. What do you got? Anybody else have any holiday questions?
Oh, I worked visitation as an officer. I never judged the visitors. But
where are we at? Yep.
It's from Sherry. But let me tell you, look at the two of us, like, can't see that far. Approach did determine response. I get it. I tell this story a lot on here. There was a time that I went to visit, and in this one facility, actually the last facility I was at, they had changed it. So originally we would all have to line up in this huge line, and then the officer's desk was the start of the line, and it just ran as long as it ran. And one at a time, they would take us. It was kind of like torture. Towards the end, we would all sit in a room and they would call us one at a time. That was a little bit easier. But this woman who was maybe 2 or 3 families in front of me, there was a long, long line that day, has a passport. She throws her passport at the cop on the desk and she said, "You can process me now." And I remember thinking, WTF are you doing? Do you understand that at the end of the day, that person you just threw your passport at and gave such an attitude for no reason has all the power? They can turn you around. They can cancel your visits, this, that, and the other thing. And not that they have a right to. And a lot of times it's falsely done. But at the same time, you catch flies with honey. What the hell are you doing? Not only did you ruin it for you, you're about to ruin it for everybody in line behind you. And so I agree with you 1,000%. I've seen people be nasty for no reason. Visitors be nasty for no reason. And it always bothered me because I'll be kind to you until you give me a reason not to be. And I think that's human compassion and kindness, no matter what situation you're in. If they're being a jerk to you, that's a completely different story. But if they're just there, sitting there, getting ready to do their job, and you walk up with a chip on your shoulder, who's winning that battle at the end of the day? It's not you. I'll tell you that much. Doesn't matter how hard you fight. Doesn't matter how true. You could take out the book with all of the rules in there and say, here it is. I've seen this happen, and still get turned away. You're never going to win that fight.
Yeah.
I just kind of went on a tangent, but I'm with you, Sherry. I think if you treated a person with kindness until they gave you an attitude, power to you. I think you did it right. You did it right.
I want to comment, and Josh and Jesus he asked us when we're going on Big Herc's show.
Oh.
And hopefully soon. We had talked to him previously. So, hey, if anybody wants to start shooting towards Big Herc, asking him when he's going to have us on, that might help speed things up. Wow.
We just got 17,000 notifications all at once.
Yeah.
Does that happen to you? You have perfect Wi-Fi service. Everything's working fine, but all of a sudden, like all your messages from all day long will just all of a sudden hit your phone all at the same time. It makes no sense to me. If you don't have Wi-Fi, that's one thing, but I don't know.
Time to call West Care.
Time to call to check
still,
in. With
still have drug testing. Yep.
Oh, Kat says she thinks my hair looks fierce and I look fine. Thank you. So I got my hair done yesterday, and I thank you for saying that because one of you amazing, sweet souls sent me a gift certificate to a salon out here. And it's an all natural salon because you guys know how I am. And it was just like, I cried when I got that gift. It was the sweetest gift from literally one of the most generous, sweetest women that I've ever encountered. And I got spoiled yesterday. So I got my highlights taken back up to the top. I got my roots done. We're going to get my hair cut next time I'm there. And she blew me out. And I think she was a great hairstylist. She was very conversational. And I was telling my other friend today, I'm like, but not overly conversational, where you're like, all right, I just want to I don't want to talk. She was just like that perfect. She was funny. She was talkative when she wanted to be and when I wanted to engage. And then she let me just kind of sit in silence for a while when I was out of things to say. She was awesome. So thank you, Kat. And thank you to my sweet, amazing friend. I'm not going to say her name because I don't know if she wants me to. Is the prison mentality starting to shed a bit now? I never saw the prison mentality in you, but what do you think?
Yeah, I would say I was very fortunate to, for me, it's been very intentional. And I actually just had a conversation with Sean, my attorney, about this today, that a number of times where we have gone to various events out here with John, and with other, I guess, influential people in the area. And, people have kind of questioned, they're like, so what's your guys' role? Who are you guys? And when we tell them, oh, by the way, I just finished 20 plus years in federal prison, the response is always the same. It's like, what? We thought you two were like some business couple, whatever. I mean, which is very flattering that they hold us in such high regard, from just, I guess it's the initial impression that we make. And I'm very, very proud of that, because I worked hard. I invested a lot of time and energy into making sure that I was not, living into the prison stigma of what, of what a convict is supposed to be. Or, my plan was always to make this transition as seamless as possible. And I'm not going to say that it's been without challenges, but the mentality, the mental part, the part that I have the greatest, control over, honestly, that's been the easiest part.
Yeah.
That was the easiest thing to shed when I walked out the door. I mean, I always knew the minute I walked out the door, like, the roles change. What's the comment? What were you going to say?
I didn't give you enough credit when I said Adam doesn't have the prison mentality, which you don't. However, it took a lot of hard work. I've told this story a few times on my channel, but I'll tell it again because it's a live video. Most people don't watch this long on the replay. If this is a repeat, just give me 1 second, and I promise I'm making a point. But sorry, I don't know if you guys hear all those dings. When Adam first moved to McKean, which is a medium security federal prison, he had been in a high security, very vigilant, on guard, very prison, that maximum security that we all are aware of. You see it on the movies, all that stuff, for 10 years. So when he got to McKean, he was very prison mentality, not prison mentality where he's going to go just beat some guy for no reason, but he had a lot of prison quirks. And I remember you telling me things. And I remember there were 2 specific times at visit that your prison quirks jumped out at me. The first time was we were just joking back and forth and being flirty, and I poked him on the side. And prior to this, we had to, in the penitentiary, sit across the table from one another, pretty far apart. We couldn't touch aside from one kiss, hello, and one kiss and hug, hello and goodbye. And so I remember I poked him in the side, and he jumped for a second, because at this point we could sit next to each other. We could hold hands, we could touch a little bit. As the years progressed there, that got taken away from us. But again, story for another time. So he said, got all serious, and he goes, wow, I didn't even know I was ticklish. And I could watch the wheels spin, he hadn't been touched in so many years. And I'm not saying that in a sexual way. I'm saying that in a way where humans are made to be touched. We have a hormone called oxytocin that when you're touched, it's released and it makes you happy, and it's just part of the human experience. When you strip that away from somebody, it creates all these issues. So that was the first time. And then the second time, which stood out to me even more, we were sitting all the way in the back corner of the visit room, and there was this pillar right next to our chairs. So it was the room where the inmates were coming out to see their families from like the back, but also they had to go back there to go to the bathrooms. The vending machines were along this back wall. The pillar was there. And then there was maybe like a foot or two of kind of like a walk. Well, it wasn't really a walkthrough. Really, you should have walked around the pole. And then there was the end chair that Adam was sitting in, then me, and then a whole bunch of chairs in a row. The chairs were kind of set up like church pews at that point, and people were just sitting in the chairs. So when anybody else from the visit room was either walking to go to that back door to go to the bathroom or walking back to the vending machines, a lot of them were cutting through between that pillar and the chair. And Adam at one point looks at me and he goes, "It's driving me crazy." And I could see like the skin and hair on the back of the hair on the back of his neck was standing up. It was driving him nuts. And I knew that for Adam to admit that to me, it was really, really, really driving him nuts. And it's explaining that from the penitentiary mentality. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but like, you don't like people walking up on you, especially behind you. And so I said to him at that point, "Why don't we switch seats? That doesn't bother me." And he goes, "No." He said, "I'm going to have to get used to that eventually." Because Adam always, from day one, despite a life sentence, prepared for his release. As the day progressed, I could see it bothering him more and more and more and more. So we both went to the bathroom at one point, and when we came back, I was back first, and I sat in his chair. And I said to him, I was like, "You have plenty of time to prepare for this. You don't need to be miserable and like jumping every 10 seconds during visit." And I'm telling you both of those stories to say, Adam worked really, really hard while he was inside to drop all of that when he got out. It was not easy. And I don't ever want to take that away from you, the work that you did, because you said to me in that moment, "No, I have to be able to deal with this discomfort so I don't have to get out later and be that person and go through all those struggles," because he had done it once before and it didn't work out for you. So
True.
that was a long-winded story, but
No,
I just didn't want to take that away, took all that work away from you.
that's a great explanation.
Thank you.
And sorry if that wasn't quite what you were asking, Josh, but that's the road that we went down. You know,
Go figure, me tangent.
I was right there with you. Where are we at? 32 minutes. So how many more questions you want to answer?
I'm always watching, and I'm always watching can you read that? I can't see that far.
I don't know which. I have
The last comment.
I'm always watching my 6'2". Adam and I've never been to prison. Well, you know, everybody has different experiences that, you know, right now, the most common thing that I'm hearing, you know, whenever we're talking to other people, especially involved in reentry and just helping people, you know, that are going through difficult times, a lot of the work is about ACEs, you know, which is child trauma experiences, right? And you don't have to be to prison, you know, to have some sort of trauma in your background.
But a lot of trauma in your background will lead you to prison.
True, very true. You know, prison tends to be one of those results. And, you know, whatever has happened in your past, you know, if you're not dealing with those things, it's going to manifest itself in some way. And for me, that's why, you know, much of the time and energy that I invested was really in myself and figuring out who I was and, you know, drilling down on what had given me the most trouble in my youth and, you know, figuring out what I needed to resolve, what unfulfilled needs, as I've talked about before, were driving me. And once I got those things figured out and I got to a better place with myself, I was able to then develop different relationships. As my relationships improved, like just I was much more at ease, especially in social circumstances where, part of that is I don't think it's going to work like that.
Oh, it's not a touchscreen?
No, it's not a touchscreen.
Oh. I was just trying to let a comment through.
Yeah, I think that was it.
So I think we should do like maybe one or two more because it's getting, look how hot, it's
getting
so
late.
hot in here. Look at both of our
It's
cheeks.
hot.
My face is on fire. My chest is on fire. I don't know why it's so hot in here.
I don't think we want to make anyone feel bad, but it was almost 70 degrees in Las Vegas today.
It was, but why is it so, it's like 700 degrees right now. Why is it so hot in here?
Probably because
The
we have
lights.
a bright Walmart light shining right on our faces. And I just looked at it and now I'm blind.
Okay, here's a good question.
Sure.
Do you think or feel like you have PTSD from prison?
From prison, no.
Do you have PTSD from something else?
I had PTSD the first time when I came out of prison. I did. Yeah, no doubt. And very traumatic experience. I mean, that was a whole different experience that time around. Any of the issues that I had in prison this time, I dealt with while I was in prison. And I did not allow those things to fester. I found, for me, constructive outlets that worked. That's, everybody knows my foundation is fitness. That's part of, it's a priority in our life. Much of that is for my mental well-being, state of mind, my balance, my equilibrium. That keeps me at a good place. But as far as the trauma, I don't see any lingering effects at this point. Listen, I am happy. I'm truly at a place where I have found balance. I have, a sense of fulfillment, of purpose, just overall happiness. Like I wake up and I am so happy and grateful to be here. Like
I'm happy and grateful to be here when I wake up in the morning every day.
Yes.
One last question, or are we done?
Last question.
Okay, this was a great one.
Sure.
So she's curious if inmates exchange gifts with one another, and she thinks it's probably not. I hope I'm like paraphrasing this because I could barely see. Someone needs her eyes checked and refuses to do it because she feels old if she needs contacts or glasses. Anyway, she feels like it would be not allowed, but if they can get away with doing it, do they? One, and two, is it stuff from the commissary? Is it stuff that they make?
One more time.
Sure. So she wants to know
Yeah.
if inmates exchange gifts with one another. If that's not allowed by the prison, do they still do it and get away with it? And is it typically stuff they just buy on the commissary, or is it stuff that they make? Do they get creative? That kind of thing.
Great question. Really depends on the, first and foremost, there is within policy in the federal prison system that says you cannot give or receive anything of value to or from another inmate.
Oh, what happens if you did?
They can write you a shot.
And of value could be like a ramen, if they want it to be.
If they want it to be. So it's written very broadly, intentionally. How often is that enforced? Not often. And especially around the holidays. Guys generally will do things like, the biggest thing in prison, what people do for each other is cook. You're going to cook. You're going to go to the commissary, you're going to buy some stuff. And like normally, if you want to get down, eat with somebody, you can be like, hey man, you want to do a meal this weekend? You'd be like, yeah, all right. Be like, okay, I'm cooking. What I need from you is, and I'm going to give you a list, and you're going to put in, your part. I'm going to put in my part, and I'm going to cook it, and then we'll get together and we'll eat. Now, like during the holidays, a lot of times people will do big meals, and sometimes someone's kicking in. Other times guys are like, you know what? I got it all. Like, I'm going to take care of it. Let me do this meal. I'm going to buy all this stuff. I'm going to pay somebody to cook it, to do whatever we're doing, even if it's just like we're doing wraps. You know what I mean? And they're not like big wraps, but somebody wanted to do something for a bunch of people. So they made a bunch of wraps, and it didn't cost them a whole lot, but it was still like, it was a really nice gesture. And things like that are really appreciated. As far as giving gifts, like things that you would make, few and far between. Like there's a couple guys, when you get into like the ceramics, the leather shop, guys who paint, they might want to do something for a close friend, be like, hey, check this out. I did this. I made a vase for you to send to your mom, and give a gift like that. I've seen plenty of that. So, but again, it's limited options. A little bit different. I've heard different things like in the women's prisons, like where they get a little bit more creative. And it's a different social dynamic, and where women are a little bit more, especially around the holidays, like they'll do like gifts for each other.
We're more emotional, period.
Yeah. And I think women are just a little bit more willing to show those expressions.
We've been given permission.
There you go.
To do that.
Yep. Well put. So what do you say?
I think
We're
we
at 40
hit
minutes.
Time because first of all, we're at 40 minutes. Second of all,
Yeah.
my eyes feel like they're burning out of my face. Did the kids maybe
Imagine.
accidentally put on the fireplace? It is, I don't even know how to explain
It's hot.
how hot it is in here.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll be back before Christmas. We are traveling this week, so we'll try to get maybe
Before Christmas. Maybe a holiday edition. What day?
we're traveling on Wednesday, so
Maybe we'll do something Christmas Eve.
okay, we could do that. Why don't you guys put in the comments, either right now or after the video? You don't have to leave them in the live comments. You can leave them underneath the video. What do you guys want us to talk about? Do you want us to vlog? That came out so weird. Talk about our day and traveling, Adam on a plane for the first time. Do you guys want us to continue to talk about holiday stuff? You guys weren't really loving our holiday themed videos, like our Vlogmas type of situations, decorating the Christmas tree, the gingerbread house. So we probably won't do any more of those this year. But if you guys want us to talk about prison holiday stuff still, whatever you want, just post it. We have tons of ideas, but I don't want to put stuff out there that you guys don't want, because kind of what's the point?
We could do a video like what's the airport people? TSA versus BOP.
Ooh, like when we're going through security?
Yeah.
Ooh, how did you think that was amazing?
Because my cousin Josh, one time when he came out to visit me, made the comment, and I was like, man, how was it getting in here? He's like, oh, it's nothing. He goes, I got to deal with the TSA all the time. I travel. I fly everywhere. I was like, Now, I don't know if he was just saying that.
You know why I think he said it? Because the scanners, it's very similar to airport, but let's just not comment anymore.
Yeah, I need to judge this for myself.
I have thoughts. Oh, that was so good. We're going to bring the GoPro. We're going to look like
the GoPro.
tourists.
All right. So we're going to film this?
Well, if we were allowed, we're going to try.
And so if you don't hear from us on Christmas Eve,
I'm in jail. He's back there.
Yeah. Somebody come bail us out of the TSA airport prison. So, all right.
That said, Merry Christmas.
Merry
We
Christmas.
love you guys, and we will see you next time. Mwah.
Bye.
Is that your computer making